Forward to catching up with Dennis Ombachi, former Mwamba player, and of course Nondes, and I'm pretty sure he'd be keeping a keen eye on this specific game as he watches his beloved Nondes take on KCB. Yeah, Nondes with a rare bit of action. Charles Odhiambo running straight into the man. KCB reacting strongly. Calvin Sheunda to Shisia on the outside. There goes the big forward. Nondes swing that ball. Daniel Okito stops and goes, looking to fashion out a chance on that side. Festus Shiasi and of course Jojo Oro, coming back from the National 7 side, have every reason to counteract that. The quality coming up top. They steal possession. Nondes. KCB with a man isolated. Floyd there. KCB recycled. Vincent Onyala. Festus goes, tests the outside. Met strongly there. Brian Wahinya recycles. Onyala. Olukusi. Floyd. Shisia. Asati. That's a clear turnover opportunity, and they lose the ball there. Tapped, required to go 10 meters. Good stepping there, good running there by Nondes, but that's a knock-on. Referee playing an advantage. Ball offloaded from the floor there. Olukusi needed to offload that ball. One man on the outside. That's a player going off his feet. Well, Olukusi is just lucky that KCB have that ball because they had a 2v1 on the outside, and I don't really understand why someone would go into contact with one person on the outside.
Yeah, long passage of play. I think also they just needed a bit of composure. When you look at it, Olukusi just zeroed in on the man in front of him, never checked on his left for the supporting player. I think just trying to gasp and breathe and take in huge chunks of air. But finally, of course, the game comes to a halt, a reset here, scrum down for KCB. And Nondes really did well in the last few minutes, enjoyed some possession and decided to work on it as KCB with a training ground move here, trying to release Floyd at the outside. He cuts back in, straightens, runs at the heart of Nondes' defense, but offloads a good ball that is knocked on by Onyala. Onyala then gets bumped off. Onyala, of course, emerged as part of the dream team in the Prince-Lu Sevens as a forward in that team, but he has his work cut out here as Nondes really giving in a good account of themselves in this particular first match. Still trailing, of course, 15-0. KCB just going through the paces here. Wahinya trying to manipulate the defense, and another knock-on, this time round from Shiasi. It's a forward pass actually from KCB, really struggling with ball in hand.
Yes, they are struggling with ball in hand, and as we speak, we are joined by one of our very own in-house coach, former Kenya Sevens, and of course, Oscar Osiri. Ladies and gentlemen, Oscar Osiri is part of the commentary team here. Now, Oscar, from your assessment, I guess you've been able to watch the first half of this game, KCB versus Nondes. You are in Mombasa, you are in Nakuru, you saw the last result between these two sides. 15-0 going into halftime. Do you think that Nondes have improved?
Look, mentally, of course, Nondes won't accept that 52 score. That I can tell you for a fact. I mean, I caught up a bit with Ben Yambu, and I know they took a huge hit mentally, but also it motivated them not to go. As they say, when you're down, you can only go up. So I'm confident that not to see a 52 score, but obviously KCB look in charge on this one, having scored the 3 tries. It could have been more, apart from the handling errors that we saw earlier. And again, the other thing here, it looks like a slow start. I think it's KCB's first game, is it? So usually it's a bit of a slow start for them sometimes. In Mombasa, it started really, really well. They were fluid. But remember, we said this in the last 2 tournaments. Teams do get better in the third tournament. But the third tournament, they also add different players. We've seen that with Mwamba. A lot of teams have made some changes on their sides. So I think some of the changes are for the better, and some perhaps not so good. But I think KCB will sort of settle down here and start to try not to overthink things. As you said there, Olukusi could have passed. So it will be a good challenge for Nondis the second half. It's 15-0. Could have been worse the last time they played. So hopefully we see something better from Nondis.
Yes, hopefully the second half brings good tidings for both KCB and Nondis. However, very strong showing there going into the halftime break for KCB. KCB, who are currently tied up top in terms of those league standings with Strathmore Leos, will be looking to break clear off this weekend. I'm not so sure about how the day progresses, or hopefully how the 2 days that we are having will progress. But however, we'll definitely be looking out and watching out for this KCB side.
Very true, very true. A lot to play for as Brian Wahinya with ball in hand gets us started for the second half of this Battle of the Lions.
Ball allowed to bounce.
Bounces.
Very risky.
Yeah, but KCB able to recover it and trying to play a short line there for Wahinya, who comes in on a dummy run, but ball goes out to George and they try to recycle it faster. Comes back into the 15-meter channel.